My experience with chiropractic began actually almost 30 years ago. Um 40 years ago, I guess I'm telling on myself. I was about 12 years old and I won a bet with my younger brother by jumping off a 12-foot ledge. Unfortunately, I landed on my foot in such a way that it jammed the coccyx, which is my tailbone. And I spent a couple months then eating off the mantelpiece and writing my homework assignments all on tops of bookcases because I couldn't sit down. About 10 years later, I encountered my first snowstorm since I was a girl from South Georgia. Was rolling a snowman, and as we got the big bottom completed, I fell over it and wound up herniating a disc at my neck and in my lower back. I went to the doctor at the medical college, actually, where I was in graduate school, and they couldn't do anything for me. They took x-rays and they said the discs were herniated. Wished me well, advised bed rest and warmth, and said I'd have to learn to live with it. So I went home and my father took me to his chiropractor. I had a couple of adjustments. They were successful. Episodically over the years, the back had become unstable and it would fall out if I strained or lifted anything too heavy or walked on heels for too long. And I would find a chiropractor and get a tweak or an adjustment and go about my business. Then when I moved to this area about 10 years ago, I was assaulted and really took a hit on my lower jaw, knocked my whole back out. And I went to a dentist who that day happened to have a temporary hygienist, and she told me that I ought to see Dr. Mike McLean at the Ocean Chiropractic Clinic over in Virginia Beach. And I just posted in my date book and ignored it for about 3 years. Every New Year's I'd redo my address book and take this post-it out and put it aside again. In the meantime, I'd had acupuncture, which was helpful. Well-intentioned physician put me on a painkiller, which became addictive, and I wound up in detox and seizures. Very, very scary, very, very difficult situation. From there, I went to an orthopod and was put in physical therapy daily for about 6 months. Again, helpful. But I began having severe migraine headaches where I just have to retreat to my bed and I couldn't tolerate light or sound or food or anything. I went to work one day with one of those migraines. All I could do was put my head down on my desk and cry. And I looked up and there was that pink thing with Dr. Mike McLean, 425-1421. So I called. The receptionist could recognize I was in distress, and she said, "Come right over." And I did, saying I can't possibly drive to Virginia Beach from Hampton, feeling like I do. I felt better within about 15 minutes and decided I would learn how to drive from Hampton to Virginia Beach no matter how I felt. It's been 3 years. I say I've probably got about 3% of the pain I used to have, and I can live with that. Wow. And I've been using both the vitamins that they use downstairs, which took me off of all the antidepressants and other medications I was on, as well as other vitamins, and helped finalize some of the arthritic pain. At one time I'd been unable to use a computer because I had so much arthritis in my fingers. I came here with braces on my neck, my back, my knees, my elbows, and fingers that I couldn't even type with, and now I'm a very frisky 20-year-old. I've worked 30 years in healthcare. Various hospitals, pain management, and back and spinal cord injury programs of different types. So I've seen it all. A lot of us reconcile ourselves to going through life with pain and strain and reduced function and not knowing it can be better. Having been through a number of different chiropractors, most of them briefly, I'm quite familiar with the more forceful and sometimes uncomfortable, abrupt, I would say, I call it snap, crackle, pop technique. Light force is very gentle. I've watched Dr. Mike work on a friend of mine, and I honestly couldn't even see him touch the body. It's almost mystical. The experience, as I tell people, is almost like you're being thumped on your hand. It's very mild. It seems to combine an acupuncture sensation for those channels of energy in the body, in other forms of medicine we talk about trigger points where the nerves which gather pain are focus, and where you can address some forms of medicine, do it through injections such as cortisone shots, etc., which have a lot of side effects as well as the pain of administration. Light Force, to the best of my knowledge, finds those areas and gives them a gentle nudge in the right direction so that the body realigns itself, sort of prods it in the direction it's supposed to function.